Tyranny, the latest of Obsidian's isomorphic RPGs, was a game I hadn't heard a thing about until the Steam Thanksgiving sale. I suppose that makes me a bit out of the loop, but look, I ain't trying to look for too many new games right now. All I'm really hoping for is that Battle for Azeroth allows you to get some good haircuts in World of Warcraft. Regardless, the premise seemed really interesting, almost straight out of a D&D game, so I gave it a shot. And this game definitely delivers. With an incredible war mech opening to the game, Tyranny sets a stage for a grand invasion by the Legion of the Disfavored and the hordes of the Scarlet Chorus against the last bastion of resistance against the mighty empire of the mysterious overlord Kairos. Even before the game starts, the player character and adjudicator of the Arbiter of Justice takes an important role in the crafting of the world in which you will soon play. Decisions that you make change how companions address you, and unlock a few dialogue options that you would have no access to if you hadn't made such choices. Each Archon, powerful beings with the ability to control magic, feels in their own way both threatening by raw power and mysterious through the lack of what is made known to the character. The conniving voices of Narat, voiced by Xander Mobius, does this job perfectly. Brutality to some regard is unavoidable, and even when playing in a mostly neutral playthrough, you come to face some difficult decisions, which I found refreshing. While there is what feels like an arbitrary story conflict towards the end of the game's second act that can put people off, avoiding spoilers too much, I still think that it manages to save itself through how the narrative is paced in a way that makes it so that the spectacle creep of player power becomes both insanely rewarding and intensely satisfying to watch. And quite honestly, in my playthrough, I was unsure about whether the plan I had was really going to work, or if it would simply lead to another harsh game over. On the matter of gameplay, regardless of difficulty settings, the level of coordination you feel when executing your attacks in tandem with allies is a mechanic quickly established, and that adds an absurd level of fun factor to the experience. Where Pillars of Eternity was great, this game excels. Spells don't feel quite as weighty as powerful as they did in Pillars, but the configuration of what spells are per rest and versus per encounter balances this out quite well. Casters have less spells with unique names to work with, but have the option to cast more than a few spells before running out of juice before the next rest. Melee in particular have a huge assortment of skills that make the classes far more interesting than simply clicking in a general direction. There are even linear skill shots for javelin throwers and AoE taunts that do not use the character as its center. You can, like I did in New Game Plus, put 15 points straight into agility, and still have entirely different playstyles to try within that same agility tree. In addition to the many skills a player has access to baseline with a companion, there are also reputation abilities coming from faction and companion loyalty, called Favor and Wrath and Fear. Both sides grant impressive powers and add to the sensation of becoming more and more important to the survival of the tiers in your view of it. Despite the limitations of the isomorphic style game to show a civilization in full, the very implication of it and the characters more than make up for that. Like any Obsidian game that takes its inspiration from games like Baldur's Gate, there are huge dialogue trees that open up a little further over time for its main cast of characters, and codex entries are weaved into these dialogues in a way that you can hover over them for a reminder, which is a wonderful way of handling them. And despite what sometimes feels like a lack of endgame content for certain characters, they strike me as incredibly memorable based on voice performance and character design alone, including rather big names in the booth like Erica Lindbeck, Ray Chase, DC Douglas, Patrick Seitz, Kirk Thornton, and more. Ebb the Tidecaller, voiced by Valerie Arem, and Verse the Vicious Scarlet Fury, voiced by Allegra Clark, stand as perfect examples of characters having visual depth that is further reinforced by voice talent. Ebb seems to be a composed mage with a fire resistance by appearance, and Verse the battle-scarred veteran with a sadistic edge, and the affirmation's interplay of visuals with voicing creates wonderfully fleshed out companions. Each character feels alive with their own quirks and agendas, and even the actions you take intentionally with full knowledge of what you're doing have side effects that weren't quite as obvious. And as you grow in power, the reputation you've accrued can help or harm your party's chances of surviving. The game isn't without shortcomings, for as great as Erica Lindbeck is in the role of Siren, the character feels underutilized plot-wise. The DLC has quite a lot of money for functionality like New Game Plus, loyalty quests, and more dynamic random encounters, even if it does add one new zone. But on the marks of fun factor, overall memorability, and storytelling, I have to give this game a recommendation. Obsidian does a wonderful job with this game, and honestly, I'd love to hear more about the tiers sometime in the future. So I'd give this game a no loot box controversy out of a good remix. So there you go, I get another video, huh? This is what people support me on Patreon to do, so I did it. I don't charge people because I'm very bad at schedules, but whatever. If you enjoyed the video, check out my other videos in the series, which one of them will come soon, and I'll catch you again next time.